We're live.
Man, you know, that thumbnail.
You like that?
I swear to God, if Adam Bullshiff wasn't in Congress, he'd look like he'd be driving a dirty white van offering kids cheap candy.
Who says the two have to be mutually exclusive? Look at Joe Biden.
Well, A, Joe Biden has people that help him do it.
Yeah.
And B, it's...
You saw that video of him with the cat and nine tails, right?
Yes. Look, pal, it's a Corvette, and I keep it locked. So, just trying to centralize it, not knock it over.
I mean, I grew up in the 80s. We all know Corvettes are more important than classified documentation. I want to start it here. Steve, you're wrong. Rodemeyer, you're wrong. Rhodey says, good news. Google is going to be kicked in the nuts for monopolizing. Effed up news. Paul Pelosi dumped $3 million in Google stock a month before it was publicly announced. Yeah, you're wrong. The idea that Google's going to get kicked in the nuts for monopolizing by activity conducted by the House or Senate, by the U.S. government, that they're going to successfully prosecute them for monopolization. What do you think the $3 million stock dump was for, Steve? Somebody's got to pay those crooks. That's it. That's right. I said it. Paul Pelosi's going to use his dumped Google stock to bribe elected officials into protecting Google.
Also, so
I would like to also point out that I just said that on YouTube, which is Google.
Oh no, we are tracking on all that.
Yep.
Yeah, goes all the way.
Come
back.
on, Susan. Come on. Ask me to write another appeal. I got you, bitch. I got you.
Anyhow, so good morning to Steve, first in the chat. Good morning to the Sergeant Major who brought us peanut butter oatmeal cookies that have got Reese's Pieces in them. I'm especially excited about that.
And he's running down the road right after the show today to buy the farm.
Yeah, literally.
It's going to be so good.
Yes. And then we've got the Fit Life with Danielle. Good morning to you. And I think that's all I see in the chat at the moment. And oh no, there's a GCM. Good morning. Okay. And Dan Burks. See, and then Sean Stryker. Does anybody else want to comment and just keep making me wrong? That would be
Stryker, I'll say again, if you started commenting before we actually hit the button to go live, then well, quite simply, that's why we missed it. And there's my mother who baked those cookies.
I was about to say, I don't need to guess who baked those cookies.
Rhodey points out we're going to need Starlink out in the wilds. You ain't wrong.
Yeah,
we're already having those conversations, please believe.
Yeah, I've said this before. If you come over to Chris Lowry's parents' house and you leave that house hungry, that is your fault.
Yes.
They will feed you. It was a thing. Like we'd get out of school. Where are we going? Chris lives pretty close by. Yeah, okay, let's go. Anyhow, all right. Oh, and they have Reese's peanut butter. They have Reese's peanut butter chips and Reese's peanut butter cups.
Yeah, they're. Where'd you put them? Let's look at it.
No, I put them over there.
You put them all the way the hell over?
Because it's disgusting to eat live on camera, and I didn't want to be tempted. I know me.
Have you never watched the Food Network?
If you pay attention, most of what you see on the Food Network is them cooking. You don't actually see them do a lot of eating, and that is on purpose, sir.
Okay.
Look, we have shit to get to.
We do. Let's do this. We got this from the Washington Examiner. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy followed through R from California. Okay, R from California. There are no blue states. There are only red states with blue cancers. And I want to remind you guys, I covered this briefly on a show a couple weeks ago. There is a movement in California to secede from California, to split California into two states, right? And the people that are making the movement, this is the reason I mentioned it, they've basically published a map of the proposed state of New California, which is literally the entire state of California except for the Bay Area and Los Angeles.
Yeah, it's basically California and San Fran, fuck you,
right.
Is what it is.
So what they're trying to do is not so much to split the state into two new states, but rather to excise their two major blue cancers. And that bodes well for the future. So Kevin McCarthy, Republican from California, followed through with some key pledges he made last year during the midterm cycle, removing Reps Adam Schiff and Eric Swalwell from the House Intelligence Committee. Illan Omar is also being removed from her committee assignments. McCarthy booted the pair from their powerful committee assignments on Tuesday, fulfilling a campaign promise that was met with opposition from Democrats and even some members of his own party. Of course, Democrats oppose this maneuver. Democrats are Chinese agents. Even the few that are not directly employed by the Chinese government have been working actively on behalf of the Chinese government, right, for a long time. You may not all remember this, but it hasn't been but a few years since we had a spate of serious and documented and evidence-backed removals from especially college research grant programs, where it was discovered that the Chinese were just funding U.S. college research and putting friendly professors in there explicitly for the purposes of stealing U.S. intellectual property from research firms and recruiting intelligence assets from among our young academicians. So the removal of these two guys from the House Intelligence Committee has been a long time coming. Let's not forget Swalwell and Fang Fang. So Swalwell's basically been an intelligence leak pipe directly to the Chinese Communist Party for about 20 years. And it's been it was an open secret for half that time, and it's been headline news for the last nearly 5-6 years now.
Yeah, but apparently, and this is going off Matt Gaetz, somebody who I have pretty mixed feelings about. But apparently, according to Matt Gaetz, the Fang Fang thing is not as big of a deal as we make it out to be. It's funny, and it's a fantastic joke to rub in his face over and over and over again. But apparently, the Fang Fang stuff happened pre-Congress, so there wasn't as much exposure there.
Yeah, and I saw the interview you're talking about. I'm not going to read anything. I don't want to get distracted. You laugh and point to me. I saw the interview that you're talking about, and it's quite simply Matt Gaetz holds this opinion because he doesn't understand how intelligence asset conversion works. Swalwell was compromised. Once someone has been compromised in that way, oh, well, he's not talking to the spy anymore. No, sweetheart. No. He's not talking to that spy anymore. Guaranteed. 100%. And then, of course, you've got Adam Schiff, who throughout the Trump campaign, throughout the Trump administration, actively lied. Right? Now, we know that the whole Russia hoax thing was funded by the DNC. It was headed by Hillary Clinton's campaign, operated through their law firm Perkins Coie, who have a skiff in their facilities. But during that time, Schiff said over and over again, there is smoking gun evidence, and it hasn't been made public yet. It's all classified. We're not allowed to talk about it. But believe you me, and he would hold up a folder with presumably blank pages in it to make and wave it around and say, I have the smoking gun evidence. Donald Trump absolutely did the things he's accused of. And then, turns out not only was there no smoking gun evidence from the very beginning, what evidence was used to begin the investigations was illicit on the face of it.
Yeah, it was a lie. Adam Bullshiff literally lied to the entire country about there being this grand plot. You know, we go back to it over and over again. Trump said they're wiretapping me, and everybody went, Trump doesn't know how that works. We haven't wiretapped people in over a decade. Bro, I don't think he meant literal. Like when he said, well, I'm just going to build a wall 10 feet high across the entire border. No, he didn't. Parts of the border were going to be patrolled, and parts of the border were going to have a physical wall and so forth. And it turns out that, yeah, he was being spied on because, you know, the actual intelligence committee was lying about him. Like, this is the scandal. So Adam Bullshiff is probably the worst. No, not probably. I'm going to go out. He's the worst.
Well, I mean, he got up in committee and read a fabricated transcript. He got up and lied
right.
about things the president said to President Volodymyr Zelensky, and like actually got up there and attempted to fabricate evidence, got caught attempting to fabricate evidence in a major criminal proceeding, and has suffered no consequences for that.
Until today.
And I mean, removed from the committees. These aren't consequences. These are reasonable national security precautions that should have been taken a decade ago.
Look, I agree, but for them, it's consequences. It's their ego, man. You want to hurt these people, you punch them in the ego.
You know what? Speaking of consequences and ego, let me just bring this up real quick. This is from the beginning of last year. House ousts Rep. Marjorie Taylor Greene from committees in, and this word is extremely important in this case, unprecedented vote. The Democrats took the unprecedented step of removing Rep. Marjorie Taylor Greene, Republican from Georgia, from her 2 committee assignments for espousing violence and conspiracy theories on social media before she was elected to Congress in November. Okay.
Wait a minute. So if you espouse conspiracy theories publicly, you're allowed to get removed from your committee assignments? Okay. Hey, what you want to bet that Adam Bullshiff voted to oust Marjorie Taylor Greene from her seat? What you want to bet?
I didn't even think to look that up, but I'd bet a paycheck on it.
I would also bet a paycheck on it. We need somebody to bet us from the other direction.
I know.
That's the problem. Okay. So all this is good news. All this is great news. Now here's something that I think is worth asking.
Oh, wait.
Oh, go ahead.
Serving on a committee isn't a right. It's a privilege. When someone encourages violence against a member, they should lose that privilege, said Rep. Jim McGovern D. Mass, the chairman of the House Rules Committee. Really? Okay. I want to put forward a challenge. I will send a free white hat to anybody who can name for me one Democrat who is currently holding an elected position that hasn't actively called for violence against explicitly Donald Trump while he was the sitting president. So, now, I'm issuing the challenge as a mechanism of entertainment, obviously, but I'd like to couple that with this claim. According to Rep. Jim McGovern, every Democrat in Congress should be immediately, by this argument, removed from all committees. If what he says is true as the chairman of the House Rules Committee at the time, then there are no Democrats who are currently qualified to sit on any committees at all.
So, here's a question. A serious question. Okay? And it kind of comes in a couple of parts, but here's one of the big ones. How much of this happens this quickly, this publicly, if Kevin McCarthy isn't forced to become speaker, a la trial by fire? Like,
none of it. Because let's be clear. Part of McCarthy's finally winning his 15th vote was predicated on a specific set of promises that he made to people like Matt Gaetz and Marjorie Taylor Greene in order to secure their vote on that 15th vote. So he had to promise to do things like remove these people from committees, at least call a vote to repeal the IRS, break up the omnibus into its constituent parts for the purpose.
Oh, you mean
voting.
do it the right fucking way?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Basically, before certain Republicans would agree to vote for McCarthy in that 15th ballot, he had to agree to do something that we haven't seen in the House of Representatives in a long time. He had to agree to follow the law.
Right. So, well, look, let me just theorize this for a moment, okay? Trump got behind McCarthy fairly early in the process, and so did Marjorie Taylor Greene. It was actually legitimately some holdouts that slowed the process up. What if the reason why Trump went in on McCarthy is early on McCarthy said, no, I promise, these people that screwed your presidency, I'm going to publicly throw them off these committees and humiliate them. And Trump went, we have a deal.
Yeah.
Like,
and honestly, I'd have taken that deal.
Like, that's...
I mean, that's not a bad deal.
So it could be that this was him having his feet held to the fire, or it could be, because when you circle all this back around, it all comes back around to how much they screwed over Trump. And by extension, all of us, you and I and everybody else, like the Trump presidency was crippled by these false allegations from the beginning. Remember, we had the White House, we had the Congress, we had the Senate. Did Obamacare get repealed? No. That should have been a throwaway piece of legislation. But everybody was terrified to work with Trump because, oh my God, what if this Russia collusion stuff ends up being true? You've got Adam Schiff coming out, waving around, manila folders saying, oh my God.
Let's not forget Obamacare was done and buried until McCain came in and...
Obamacare wasn't entirely done and buried. We had a compromise that was going to pull some of its teeth out. But yes, the John McCain thing is a totally separate issue. I'm just saying that, like, a full repeal.
Yeah. And I mean, hey, if I had my way, we would have a national holiday where we all just lined up. And I do mean all of us. We would all line up if it took a week, like going to Hajj. And we would just all take turns pissing on McCain's grave once a year. Make a big barbecue out of it, fireworks, the whole thing. And I've felt like that about the man since long before he just goat roped us on Obamacare.
Yeah, isn't it? Man, you talk about a humiliating fall from grace. Look at John McCain and the way he was perceived publicly 20 years ago. And look at him now. Woo! That's why you don't screw over your friends, folks. Anyhow. Do you want to keep hammering on this one?
I celebrated McCain's death with good scotch because that son of a whore cost me 2 soldiers. Personally.
Yeah, I can't say that I know that exact one, but Wow, Danny says the Druids would dig them up every 10 years and burn them again. That's
I endorse that more than you can possibly imagine. I'm also deeply comfortable with the with the wicker basket tradition.
And then Crackshot says it was
You don't
Romney.
want to get arrested the day after Halloween.
And Romney, Crackshot says it was Romney care before it was Obamacare. Yeah, this is
It
true.
was.
And again, Mitt Romney's a whole.
We've talked a few times on this show about how much
separate thing.
I dislike Romney as well.
So we have some time left. Do you want to touch
Okay.
on the breaking news that is?
Yeah, I want to touch on this one. I can afford to go over a few minutes today if we need to. I suspect we're going to have to come back to this one. But if you guys haven't seen it, and I want to be upfront, I was planning on talking about the ouster of the three shitbags from their committees already, and I was setting that show up when I saw this headline drop, so I haven't had time to do to dig into it and do the research that I want to do. But it's trending all over the place right now. Earlier this morning on Twitter, it was trending with the hashtag directed evolution. So basically what we've got is James O'Keefe did it again. Now, look, okay, Tim Pool's made this joke a few times, and I'm going to make it too. Guys, if you're kind of a goofy-looking, smart dude with an important job, and the smoking hottest chick you ever met wants you to go out for drinks, it's James O'Keefe. Like, I'm glad he gets the coverage he does, but OPSEC, bitches.
Dude,
In this house, we practice safe sex, right? We practice safe sex in my house. OPSEC, InfoSec, ComSec, PersSec, Material Sec. You don't mess around with this stuff. If the hot chick is talking to your goofy looking ass, you're not me. Okay? I promise she's James O'Keefe.
Listen to this.
We're exploring, like, now, you know how the virus keeps mutating?
Yeah.
Well, one of the things we're exploring is, like, why don't we just mutate it ourselves so we could create unfavorably develop new vaccines, right? So we have to do that. If we're going to do that, though, there's a risk of, like, as you could imagine, no one wants to be having a pharma company mutating viruses.
Yeah.
So we're like, do we want to do this? So that's, like, one of the things we're considering.
Okay.
Like, the future, like, maybe we can, like, create new versions of the vaccines and things like that.
Okay, so Pfizer ultimately is thinking about mutating COVID?
Well, that is not what we say to the public. No. That's why it was a thought that came up in a meeting, and we were like, why do we not? It was like, we're going to consider that with more discussions.
Okay.
That exact reaction, right? We're like, wait a minute, like, people won't like that.
That's right. It appears that Pfizer is internally discussing the possibility of mutating the COVID virus themselves in order to tailor a vaccine to sell to the public. Listen to Walker describe in detail.
Okay.
look, if nothing else,
It gets worse.
look, if nothing else, man, like, seriously, we're still in January, and I think that's, like, at bare minimum, worst optics of the year. Absolute worst fucking optics of the year. Like, ooh, hey, how do we look bad? And the dude knows it too. He's all cheeky. He's like, well, we don't say that to the public because.
Well, he's clearly got a little truth serum running through his veins, right? And if I had to guess based on his mannerisms,
they
it's like
are
a Manhattan.
smashed.
It's like a Manhattan or an apple.
There might even be a little something you snort or smoke mixed in with that. And look, I'm comfortable with it. If you get people to tell the truth, and he's clearly feeling good and telling the truth. And Steve talks about how flippant he is. Like, there's a whole separate discussion there. I don't think we'll be able to get into here, but like. Yeah, well, we would never say that to the public because obviously, we would never say this to the public. Woo, yes.
And yeah, it gets markedly worse. Let me bring us forward a little bit.
The way it would work is like we put them in the virus in these monkeys,
Okay.
and then we successively like cause them to keep infecting each other. And we collect serial samples from them, and then the ones that are more infectious, like the virus, we'll put them in another monkey and just constantly actively mutate it. That's one way. Or you can even do like directed like simulation, which like we tend not to prefer. And then you just sample what the different proteins on the surface of the virus look like over time. Okay. So then you can see the mutation, and you can kind of force it to mutate in a certain way you want.
Okay, he just described, okay, we can put it in monkeys and we can play with them and see how it works with them. Or there's this much safer alternative that's progressive simulation, which we don't like. We tend not to prefer. We prefer the more dangerous route of conducting illegal gain-of-function research.
You know, whenever AI comes up, people are like, have you seen Terminator? Well, they're talking about doing this shit with monkeys, and be like, have you guys seen 28 Days Later?
Right.
And look, just real quick. No, Ossifer, I swear, it's just one monkey on another monkey. Ossifer, I swear, I'm not drunk. Also, you need to arrest Larry. It smells very much bad in here. He puked in the fish tank. Like, it's just, woo! And then Willow Bar says he's drunk and trying to impress someone. That's, yeah, that's definitely part of it.
Oh yeah, he's trying to impress someone. He's trying to, yeah. I want to play one more piece of this video.
I don't know. It depends on how the experiments work out, because this is just like something that's fine, right?
It sounds like gain of function to me.
I don't know. It's a little bit different. I think it's different. It's like it's definitely not gain of function.
Sounds like it is. I mean, it's okay.
No, directed evolution is very different.
Direct evolution?
Directed evolution.
Directed evolution, okay. Well, so, I mean...
No, it's not gain of function.
Totally
It's
different than gain of function.
Yeah, it's not gain of function. It's directed evolution. Don't worry.
I didn't make my Pokemon more powerful. I made them less vulnerable.
I mean, I gotta be honest, buddy. Directed evolution sounds scarier than gain of function. Like, if you're trying to soften up the term, that's not the one. Crackshot says Dr. Fauci is evolution.
You know, Crackshot, there have been several science fiction films, and I've even toyed with writing a science fiction film or short where the gray aliens show up, and the big reveal is that, oh no, these are actually humans from the future, but because of genetic therapy and directed evolution type of stuff, what we eventually become are genderless, gray, androgynous homophores of our previous selves. And now we've got this gray alien that's genderless, and they're all identical to one another, and they're all clones of one another, and they're basically immortal and immune to everything, except now their genetic structure's breaking down and they can't reproduce anymore.
Believe it or not, that's been done.
Dr. Fauci does very much look like evolution.
Believe it or not, that's actually been done a couple of times.
I know, yeah. It's been done in Star Trek.
You just want to do your own version.
Yeah.
Okay.
My version's a little different, but that's part of the trick is the twist. You know, copy, steal like an artist. But they did it in Stargate. They did it in Star Trek. I think there was a version of it even in Sliders, but yeah.
Oh, Sliders, deep cut. I hadn't seen that one in a minute. Okay, so, you know, part of the con here, okay, is, hey, have you guys noticed how the vaccines, and we're allowed to say this, even though it got us our very first strike on YouTube, you know how the vaccine's not really much of a vaccine? So they're gain of functioning the virus. No, excuse me. They're directing the evolution of this virus so they can continue to sell you more vaccines, and I'm sure they're going to work every bit as good as the current vaccine. Like, what a hustle. Like, how tied up...
Joe Scarborough that was just complaining about how how COVID knocked him out for like 3 months, and he's so glad that he had the 3 boosters he did because it made it better than it would have been, and he really wishes he'd have had a 4th. I'm like, better than it would have been. The virus with a 99.6% survival rate knocked your ass out for 3 months on 4 doses. Because remember, he's triple boosted.
Right.
And that didn't keep you from getting your ass wiped for 3 months. So, sweetheart, I don't think the problem is the vaccine for you. I think you're a bitch.
Well, look, not only that, like, how tied up in knots is their business model where going to these links to sell a, let's call it a vaccine of middling effectiveness, is the way to make the most money. Like,
well, clearly the efficacy of the vaccine is not the point. The profit margin is.
well, I don't have a problem with them
We've been cracking jokes about the profit margin being the point to the bad vaccines needing to be boosted and boosted and boosted. You know, those jokes have been cracked for a while. This isn't people cracking jokes. This is the, let's see, where's his title again? This is the Pfizer Director of Research and Development and Strategic Operations in mRNA Scientific Planning.
God, that's a mouthful.
Saying outright, the point is to make people need more vaccines.
I'd have to go back and watch it again. I don't know that I saw him say that the point was to make them need more because you'd have to release the virus out into the public. Just let it hang. Just let it hang.
That's fair. That's for you. No, you're absolutely right. There's no reason at all to. You're 100% correct. There is no intelligent reason to create vaccines for theoretical viruses which will never be introduced intentionally into the public, or accidentally into the public, or into the public at all.
Right. No. And meanwhile, our chat's laughing in Wuhanese.
Chunk.
Yeah, let's just go ahead and be as absolutely offensive as possible about this.
Maybe I should just go ahead and put my autographed Kim Jong-un photo in the scene.
Oh, yes.
Do you have anything else you want to talk about on this one?
Well, there's actually a lot, but it's a whole separate discussion about doing this type of research in general. And
after a leak like this, you can bet we're going to hear more about this, and we're going to end up having to come back to this over the next couple weeks.
Oh, yeah.
Probably 2 or 3 times.
Oh, yeah. Like, it sounds like a male's voice is on the other side of this conversation.
Yeah, and I bet he's pretty.
I was going to say, like, the fact that he didn't get tricked by a pair of giant titties here. I mean, whoo, I'm just saying, like, golly, can you imagine just the people that James O'Keefe has working for him? Like, are you at least an 8? Why does that matter? What kind of an asshole are you?
Nope, it's a fair question.
No, look, you need to understand what we're doing here. Okay? If you're not willing to be a honeypot, this might not be the job for you.
I need a pair of 36 double Ds that aren't afraid to wear a low cut and can hold her liquor. Hey, I mean, I get it. I mean, I might have fallen for the big boobs trap and gotten myself in trouble as a young soldier with a TS clearance back in the day. But the U.S. government was smart and sent their own agent to lock me down. Good work, guys. Good work.
Yeah. So basically this is just like the biggest news, especially now that the facts are coming out that Okay, let me say this very carefully, YouTube. It appears as though the younger you are, the more dangerous the vaccine might be for you to take. Fair? Okay. All right. So.
And the top comment goes to my wife for saying I still love you after my terrible honeypot jokes.
Right.
Love you too, baby.
Right. Anyhow, biggest news in the world, and you know the evidence is coming out, and you know I really dodged a bullet here. My initial reluctance to get the jab was just a matter of pragmatism. It wasn't even like I was anti-jab. I was just like, nah, I'm pretty healthy. At the time, I had a job where I was extremely active. I was in pretty good shape, and I was like, meh. I'm fine. I'll wait. I'll wait 6 months to a year before I get the jab. And then over that 6 months to the year, enough people told me, well, you just want your grandma to die. No, I don't. You're being awful weird about this jab thing. Now I don't want to take it at all.
Right, exactly. And you know what? That's one. Like I'm gonna just start the chain right here, and I'll finish it after we get off the air.
Anyhow, so, but yeah, biggest news, and they're just going to keep right on with it. And we have reason to understand that mRNA technology has a lot of potential. Got that from a pretty authoritative source. We just don't. It's just not there yet. It's almost like they're filling out the last little bit of the. Hey, you know what we could do? We could finish the research really quickly.
Pfizer ultimately.
People. So anyhow, I think that's going to be it. That needs to be it.
All right. Yeah, so we're going to go ahead and put a button in it there. I got to get down the road and shoot some houses anyway. Thanks for watching this morning, guys. We love you, and we will see you tomorrow.